If you were someone plugged into the gaming scene during 2005, you might remember coming across this screenshot. Or maybe this one. For me, it was the second one I saw in a gaming magazine back in early 2006, and I remember it clearly because if you were like me, you thought it had something to do with The Wind Waker, the earlier Zelda title that took its visual cues from old Japanese animated films from the 60s. But as I would later discover during a curiosity-quenching hunt for answers, our collective confusion was also one felt all throughout the internet, as gaming communities began to discover that these screenshots were something else entirely. A new game unrelated to Zelda that would go on to be involved in a development story wrapped in drama, the result of being the right game made at the wrong time. At the center of this story is a company called Webzen, a Korean game development studio who was specializing in developing mass multiplayer online role-playing games. The MMORPG scene at this time was on the rise as games like World of Warcraft and RuneScape were pulling in massive numbers and successfully cultivating online communities. Webzen's own recently released MMO, MU Online, had put them on the map a year earlier after the game saw huge global success, attracting over 56 million users worldwide. On February 15, 2005, during the lead up to the E3 Expo that year, Webzen held an event called Enter the New Hero, accompanied by a press release which unveiled Webzen's 6 new upcoming titles. Noteworthy titles were All Points Bulletin, a cops and robbers MMORPG driven by Grand Theft Auto creator David Jones, Soul of the Ultimate Nation, aka Sun, another MMORPG with Lord of the Rings composer Howard Shore on board as music lead, and lastly Parfait Station, another MMORPG being designed for the casual gamer. But it was one of the other smaller titles announced that really caught the attention of the wider gaming community, simply called Wiki, a cartoon-style MMORPG that maximizes the community with cute characters, slated for global release during Q4 that year. Alongside this announcement came 2 screenshots featuring a blonde-haired protagonist in a fantasy setting. From the curly wind symbol in the logo, to the familiar character designs and distinct cel-shaded art style, gaming communities almost instantly began calling out its clear similarities to Wind Waker, and it wasn't long before Zelda's IP owners, Nintendo, called wind of the situation. Just over a week later, Nintendo would release a statement regarding the potential plagiarism between Wiki's character design and the similarities with Zelda's hero, Link. The Korean spokesperson from Nintendo would say, "Headquarters told us that it would take legal measures if the character design remains the same." But a Webzen spokesperson would push back against this, stating that at a recent event, we had a short presentation of our ongoing projects. The character screenshot that is being circulated on the internet currently was just a sample. They would go on to say that Wiki utilizes a character creation function with tons of different hairstyles and features to choose from. The number of variables are in the tens of thousands. From here, Webzen would go on to remove their press article and accompanying photos of Wiki from each of their websites. But as we'd see in the weeks following, this move would ultimately backfire, since the only image that became available was a low-resolution comparison image from an IGN article. And it's this comparison image that would make the rounds across gaming forums, leading some to believe that the Wiki character was also holding a telescope, an iconic item from Wind Waker, making the image even more damning. It was a very rocky start to Wiki's development journey, and as we'll see down the line, this sour initial impression would be hard to shake. Then came E3 Expo 2005, the world's biggest gaming exhibition where developers and studios would come to introduce and advertise their upcoming games or products. Webzen were there too, wielding an entire Wiki booth and a new trailer, but instead of just the name Wiki, the game was being showcased under a new title, Wiki, the Master of Tales.
Someone say Zelda ripoff.
After some digging, I was excited to find online not only the game brochure Webzen had available to grab at the Wiki booth, but also a copy of the 2005 Webzen press kit they were handing out to publications. I also managed to uncover the 2 trailers Webzen were using at the event, and if you want to watch them in full, I've upscaled them and put links in the description. I'll talk about the press kit in a second, but first let's take a moment to finally learn about what kind of game WebZen were presenting at this event.
Civilization and culture. The Wiki gameplay environment encompasses 10 unique civilizations, each possessing its own myths and legends. Throughout the gameplay experience, characters embark on a number of quests and missions foretold through colorful tales. Customizable characters. Players can enter the Wiki world as one of 3 different races: beast, elf, or human. Each race has 4 different classes and gives players opportunities for promotions to higher classes through special quests and missions. Characters in Wiki are fully customizable, from hair color and style to attitude and facial expressions. These attributes are directly related to each player's gameplay style in quests, missions, and interactions with others. As a result, no single character is exactly the same as another. Extreme interaction. The Wiki world is a highly interactive environment for both playable characters and non-playable characters alike. Non-playable characters will have varying degrees of preference for playable characters. An NPC may lead one character to one mission and tip off another to a different quest, all based on the NPC's particular level of affinity towards certain types of characters. And finally, group system. The group system in Wiki consists of 8 different assemblies, with each having its own individual characteristics. Players have opportunities to become group leaders by establishing guilds within the assemblies.
Now, it's okay if you still feel a bit confused about what this game is actually about. In fact, this was the same reaction the wider community had towards Wiki, and its seemingly lack of a distinct hook to set it apart from other MMORPGs. And unfortunately, the press kit, as excited as I was to find this, didn't offer up anything that wasn't included in the brochure. It had some concept art, the new logo, and some gameplay screenshots. I even tracked down and contacted the writer of the fact sheet, who had left their name and email at the bottom of the document, but in my most polite tone of voice across multiple channels, I received nothing back. But other than the brochures, the trailers, and Wiki bags, there was not much that Wiki had to offer at E3. It was summed up as a rather lackluster showcase, and even with the press kits and being positioned smack bang in front of the entrance at South Hall, Wiki received barely any attention from the press. 6 months later, Wiki would pop up again at the G-Star Expo, Korea's massive trade video game event that November, but it was just the same booth with the same trailer.
And it begins!
But this would all change at E3 2006 the following May, where WebZen would come out swinging with a significantly stronger Wiki showcase. There was new art, a new trailer, and it would be the first time that attendees could play a hands-on demo of the game. But funnily enough, the name Wiki Master of Tales was nowhere in sight. Wiki had gone through yet another name change. It was now being showcased under simply Project Wiki. But despite the name change, it was clear that WebZen really had been taking Wiki seriously. Compared to the previous showcases, this new one demonstrated a much more realized tone, both visually and thematically, and it finally got the attention of the media, appearing on a few broadcasts like GTTV.
So Project Wiki is a cel-shaded, whimsical fairy tale-based MMORPG. So with Project Wiki, it's going into beta pretty soon in Korea, and it's something we'll look at for North America. We wanted to get response from you guys, the press, and from some of the channel partners here at E3 to find out what you think about the game. Pretty soon we'll be bringing it into focus testing and get response from actual players. And what we're hoping is that it's going to appeal to a younger demographic, maybe late teens, early 20s, and also more female players as well.
The primary angle here is that Wiki, unlike other MMORPGs being designed for the hardcore gamer, was an MMO for the kids and teens demographic. Even with the quickly expanding world of MMOs, Wiki looked like nothing else on the market. The other two hooks WebZen were honing in on during the event was that the music for Wiki was being written by the composer behind the highly praised Grandia series, and that Wiki wielded a unique emotion system called the Smile Master System, a unique technology to Wiki that applies various facial expressions to characters and NPCs, allowing players to express their own individuality. The playable demo itself offered 3 character options, 2 swordsmen and a magician, and each character had their own world to explore. Some reports of Wiki post E3 were that, despite the game being designed to appeal to all ages, the gameplay was very difficult. A gameplay video from 4gamer.net began circulating which showcased the player experiencing a significant amount of deaths during their playthrough. It would later be revealed that the data of the Wiki demo wasn't designed to reset between players, meaning that the players who played the demo at the end of the day at E3 were having a significantly harder time since the previous players had used up all the resources like healing potions. According to 4gamer.net, who had chatted with one of the WebZen developers during the event, Wiki was still less than 50% completed at this point and was now looking at a late 2007 release date. But despite the difficulty rumors and the release date being pushed back yet again, most reviews were overwhelmingly positive. It has that certain spark to it that draws you into play. Project Wiki is so unique and intriguing and one of my most anticipated MMOs. Even that Hyper magazine goes on to praise Wiki, stating that the game actually shows a great deal of potential to be something different in the marketplace. There was genuine anticipation swelling among the community, and it was clear that Wiki was finally winning audiences over. But then, silence. All communication regarding Wiki goes completely dead.
Anyway, to start, my name is Cindy Armstrong.
This halt in momentum was especially odd considering that during E3, Cindy Armstrong, WebZen's newly appointed CEO of their new American branch, had expressed high hopes for the future of Wiki during an interview with Team Xbox, stating that we are looking into what we can do with Project Wiki, which is a very interesting, very diverse product that will appeal to different audiences. I think it's a great way to launch WebZen America. Wiki did pop up again briefly at the following G-Star event in Korea, but with only a few extra screenshots and no playable demo. But fans were still hungry for updates, and with no action being taken on WebZen's end, fans began to do the work. In January 2007, the Korean Game Creator Association would interview some of the developers over at WebZen, two of them being part of the Wiki team, who comment that there's a lot going on right now on Wiki. But from here, dire things began to occur. Wiki would not make an appearance at the next two E3s, and in May 2008, it was reported that both Wiki and Parfait Station had been cut from the game roster on the North American side, as they appeared to be making a retreat from the North American market. The community did get a boost of hope when a member of MMORPG.com would receive a reply from WebZen's PR team regarding Wiki, saying it has been developed with a steady pace because there have been many changes in it. But unfortunately, this hope would be short-lived because in July 2009, when another member of MMORPG, after emailing the PR team again, would receive the reply that Wiki project has terminated. For complete verification, I did try to get in touch with everybody mentioned here, the two WebZen employees, the MMORPG users Dromel and Gorak, Cindy Armstrong. I even emailed the current WebZen PR team in hopes of a statement regarding Wiki. But after days of attempting to reach out, I received nothing from anybody. In the end, it remains a mystery why Wiki ultimately died. But unfortunately for Wiki, its death hasn't stopped the initial rumor of Nintendo's lawsuit from living on. And when reading through forums years later, it's clear that despite Nintendo never taking legal action against WebZen, this rumor about a lawsuit might be Wiki's ultimate legacy. But a question still remains around this part of the story. Why was Wiki the first Zelda clone in a long line of Zelda clones to face backlash from the community? Rewind 11 years to 1994 when Crusader of Senti, Sega's response to Nintendo's wildly successful Zelda: A Link to the Past, would receive a glowing reception, with publications calling it one of the best RPG games for the Genesis. Even before that, in 1991, Final Fantasy Adventure, despite communities also acknowledging its clear Zelda inspiration, was welcomed with open arms and praised as one of the best RPGs ever for the Game Boy. But fast forward 3 decades and there is significantly less grace for AAA studios when it's clear that too much inspiration has been taken from the Zelda series. In 2019, community protests took place when Genshin Impact, a game that took heavy inspiration from 2017's Zelda Breath of the Wild, was unveiled to the public. As it would turn out, Wiki would unfortunately be the Zelda clone caught in the crossfires of the times, where its initial announcement back in 2005 would mark the moment in history when online communities began drawing the invisible line between AAA studios and what was allowed to be borrowed from Zelda games. So in the end, Wiki might have succeeded had it been announced just a few years earlier. But unfortunately for this one Zelda clone, Wiki was a title that borrowed too much, too late.